A man in California sells underground bunkers for a living. He closes at least one sale a day at prices from $20,000 to several million, and every buyer is paying for a document their own grandfather got mailed to him for free. That is not an exaggeration. That is exactly the situation you are in right now. The same protection, the same physics, a price difference of 200 times, separating the family that knows from the family that pays. There's a plan for a family fallout shelter that costs about $200 in materials. It was drawn up by government engineers, printed by the millions, and handed to ordinary American families. It still exists. You can download it today in under a minute. And almost nobody knows it is there. The bunker industry knows. They just have no reason to tell you. They spend their marketing budget making sure the question never occurs to you. So let me show you what they buried and why a $200 idea got reborn as a $40,000 product. Welcome to the Survival Research. If you are not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and the bell. This is where we dig up the documents the industry quietly priced out of your reach. In 1959, the Office of Civil and Defense Mobilization published a 32-page booklet called The Family Fallout Shelter. It held complete construction drawings for 5 shelter types: underground, basement, above ground, do-it-yourself versions and contractor versions, a supply checklist, everything a family needed. Millions of copies went out across the country. This was not classified. It was the opposite of a secret. The government wanted every family in America to build one. Here is the part that matters for your wallet. Civil defense authorities at the time stated that a concrete block basement shelter could be built as a do-it-yourself project for $150 to $200. The materials, if you did the work yourself, cost about $200. That booklet never went away. Right now you can find the family fallout shelter on the Internet Archive. Full scan. Every page. Every drawing. It costs nothing because it is public domain. Your tax dollars paid for it 65 years ago. So why is a man in California selling the modern version for $500,000? Stop for a second. Because what I just told you is one piece of something much larger. I took the original government shelter plans, the declassified civil defense manuals, and the modern engineering data, and put them in one place. The exact $200 basement design with current material substitutions. The shielding math that tells you precisely how thick your barrier needs to be. The supply list that keeps a family alive for 2 weeks instead of 2 days. The mistakes in the 1959 plans that modern data has corrected. It is all in the suppressed file, step by step, with the part numbers and the measurements. Scan the QR code on your screen or hit the first link in the description and get it now. Let me keep going. Radiation shielding comes down to one word: mass. The more dense material between your body and the fallout, the less radiation reaches you. That is the entire science. No salesman can change it. Lead is not magic, and steel is not magic. What stops gamma radiation is the sheer weight of atoms packed between you and the source. And dirt has plenty of atoms. Engineers measure it with halving thickness, the amount of a material that cuts radiation in half. For concrete, every 2.4 inches cuts the radiation in half again. Pack soil instead, and you need about 3.5 inches for the same effect. Either way, the rule is identical. You are not buying a product. You are stacking density. Still watching? Then you already understand more about real protection than most people writing those $40,000 checks. Subscribe and share this with someone about to overpay for safety. Everything the bunker industry leaves out of the brochure is in the file the shelter companies hate. Scan the QR code or hit the first link in the description. Now stay with me, because the number I am about to give you is the one they hope you never run. The villain here is not a shadowy agency. It is a business model. The modern bomb shelter market was worth about $137 million last year, forecast to reach $175 million by 2030. That growth runs on one thing: fear that you cannot solve the problem yourself. A prefabricated nuclear shelter from a major company runs $40,000 to $120,000 before shipping. A 200 square foot fallout shelter averages around $60,000 installed. One Texas company sells a buried steel unit marketed as affordable at $19,000. Custom builds with showers and wine racks start at $250,000 and climb past $9 million for the silo conversions. None of those companies are lying about what they sell. The steel is real, the filtration is real, but the physics that stops radiation does not care how much you paid. Do the math 10 times and you reach a protection factor of 1,000. Only 1,000th of the outside radiation reaches you. 10 halving thicknesses of concrete is about 27 inches. That is the number. Roughly 2¼ feet of concrete, or the equivalent in earth and sand, gives a family the protection level modern civil defense documents recommend. Now compare that to what you already have. A typical house reduces radiation to about 1/15th of the outside level on its own. A protection factor of 15 just from walls and a roof. An 8-inch concrete ceiling alone gives you a factor of around 10. You are not starting from 0, you are starting from 15 and building up. This is why the $200 basement plan worked. It used the mass you already owned. The earth around your basement walls, concrete blocks filled with sand, bags of soil stacked over the ceiling joists. The original engineers understood that you do not buy protection, you stack it. A buried steel box does the exact same thing the company charges $40,000 for. The steel is not magic. The earth piled on top of it is doing the shielding. You're paying $40,000 for a shape. The mass is free. It is in your backyard. Here is the regional reality for anyone in the United States. The materials are at any hardware store. Concrete blocks run a couple of dollars each at Home Depot or Lowe's. Sand is sold by the bag or the truckload. Rebar, plywood for forms, basic hand tools. A homeowner with a basement already owns the most expensive component, which is the hole in the ground. There's more to it than mass, and this is where the old plans earn their keep. A sealed box of concrete is not enough on its own. You need air. The original designs solved this with a simple hand-cranked blower that pulled fresh air through the shelter without electricity, no battery, no generator, just a person turning a handle. Civil defense engineers even concluded that elaborate filters were not essential for a small family shelter because adequate airflow mattered far more than filtration. The bunker companies sell you a Swiss filtration system for thousands of dollars to solve a problem the original plans handled with a fan and a hand crank. You also need to handle 2 weeks of sealed living, water storage, waste management, a way to know when it is safe to come out. The original manuals covered every one of these in plain language with checklists. None of it is exotic. All of it has been quietly repackaged and marked up. The deeper question is how something handed to millions of families simply vanished from public memory. The answer is not a cover-up. It is neglect with a profit motive layered on top. By the mid-1960s, the public lost interest because people realized a shelter would not save them from a direct hit and resented paying for national security out of their own pocket. The government stopped maintaining the public shelter network in the 1970s and put the responsibility back on individuals. The plans stayed on the shelf. The knowledge faded. And decades later, a new industry rediscovered the same physics, wrapped it in steel and marketing, and sold it back to the grandchildren of the people who once got it for free. Now, let me be honest about what this is and what it is not, because the bunker companies count on you never hearing this part. A basement shelter built to a protection factor of 1,000 protects you from fallout. Radioactive dust drifting in days after a detonation. It does not protect you from a direct blast. If you are inside the immediate blast radius of a weapon, no $200 shelter and no $500,000 bunker saves you either. Both are fallout shelters. The expensive one just markets itself better. And here's the most uncomfortable truth. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, the actual government disaster agency, does not tell you to buy a bunker. Its official guidance for a nuclear detonation is to get inside, and stay tuned. Get to the center of a sturdy building or basement away from outside walls for at least 24 hours. The whole guide is built around using the mass you already have, not around a purchase. The bunker industry lives in the gap between what FEMA actually recommends and what fear makes people buy. Every part of this follows the same pattern. A problem the industry charges tens of thousands to solve. A solution that costs a couple $100 and was once mailed to your family for free. And a reason nobody reminds you. There is no profit margin in telling a frightened person the answer is already in their basement and the manual is already free. The plan was never erased. That is the trick. It was simply allowed to be forgotten while a new industry grew up to sell you the same physics at 200 times the price. You have two options. Call the man in California and write a check for $40,000 or $400,000 for a steel shape with earth piled on top. Or download a 65-year-old government document for free, understand the physics, no amount of money changes, and build the same protection for the cost of concrete blocks in a weekend. The bunker salesman closes one sale a day. He's counting on you not knowing the file exists. The men selling fear are very good at their jobs. They count on the documents staying forgotten. They count on you believing that something this important must be expensive, must be complicated, must be bought. None of that is true. It never was. Now you know it exists. The three analyses I could not fit in this video are pinned in the top comment. The exact shielding math for your specific basement, the 2-week supply list that actually works, and the corrections modern data made to the 1959 plans. The link is there too. If this changed how you think about what safety actually costs, subscribe and share it with someone about to overpay. The next document we dig up is one they buried even deeper. So before you close this video, sit with the real choice in front of you. One path cost you a phone call, a financing plan, and tens of thousands of dollars for a steel shell whose only working part is the dirt you pile on top of it. The other cost you an afternoon downloading a public document, a weekend of work, and a few $100s in blocks and sand. Both end with the same physics standing between your family and the fallout. Only one of them ends with an invoice. The plan was always there. They just made sure you would never look for it.